Good morning and welcome to week 3. So far, we have done mostly conceptual work thinking about writing approaches to rhetoric and discourse. And though we have done some weekly what's new posting, we haven't really begun the process of research and the facets of that research, which will become our writing projects for the semester. The reason being, I like to ease my classes, particularly online classes, into the pool, as it were, so that everybody is comfortable with the process and the procedures to enact that process before we uh, start doing the intellectual heavy lifting. So, looking ahead to next week, we will begin to discuss research, and you will begin collecting research and annotating that research for a bibliography. But the final piece of the puzzle before we get there is something I want to focus on this week, and that is peer review. Peer review is an important part of any writing process. Now, before we get into the specifics of what peer review is, we need to get out of the way a misconception. In other words, deal with what peer review is not. And peer review is not equivalent to proofreading. Proofreading is that process that you do right before you submit a draft, either on your own or maybe you pass it off to a friend. And what proofreading does is look for surface features, things that can be fixed rather easily and quickly, making sure that sentences are grammatical, making sure that there's no typographical errors, and so on. While those things are important to peer review, in terms of priority, they come at the end of the peer review process. In fact, peer review considers those things to be relatively low priorities, as opposed to more important areas of writing that affect meaning making. So peer review is not proofreading, though proofreading, we can say, is a part of peer review. What peer review is a collaboration between two or more writers focused on a particular piece of writing for the purpose of improving that writing and improving each reviewer or each collaborator's knowledge of writing. So peer review is a moment of education, really, by which we use our eyes, our sense of rhetoric, what we know about a given writing purpose, what we know about audience, to help the writer see their work in a new way. In fact, the word revision means to re-see. Revision. And to do that requires different eyes. And we could basically boil peer review down to that, just getting another set of eyes. Set of eyes that might approximate that audience that we are trying to reach, but we do not know personally. And so sometimes students ask or feel as though there's a situation in peer review at this level where the blind are leading the blind. That I'm in the class, you're in the class, I don't know any more than you. What can I contribute? What you can contribute is your eyes, your opinions, your ability to read. After all, however limited you think that your writing skills, your knowledge of literacy generally are, if you're able to tell someone that you do not understand a paragraph, that should be enough of an indication that the audience will have similar trouble. After all, in that collaborative moment, you are the audience. And in my 13 years of teaching in higher education, one thing I absolutely know is that peer review makes better writers all around. Everybody involved in the process comes out a better writer. The more dedicated, the more voracious you are towards peer review, the better your writing will be. Students who are active peer reviewers or actively peer reviewed are the ones that get an A. Not because I give points for it and it's worth 5% of your grade, though that's certainly true, but because they spend the time and have the conversations about their writing. They are thinking about their writing. They are asking for ways to improve it. And anytime you can have a conversation about your writing, what you're working on, what you're trying to accomplish, this is how you make those great leaps forward. That is how you become a better writer. Now, for us to become better writers, we need to be able to think about what peer review actually is. And we can break peer review down into two sort of major modes. First mode being meaning making, or what the Purdue OWL likes to call higher order concerns. Either is fine as far as I'm concerned, but higher order concerns are those concerns about the meaning making of a piece of writing. It's about the ideas, the arrangement, the development of the ideas, and the support of the ideas. In terms of the success in a class of any given draft, higher order concerns or those areas of those modes of meaning making are always going to have the biggest impact upon the evaluation of a draft. In other words, the grade. So these are the areas that should always be attended to first. So these areas of meaning making, these higher order concerns, are as follows. Presence of a thesis. Students wonder how a few sentences can take a successful draft and turn it into an unsuccessful draft. How can a few sentences do that? If those few sentences are a thesis statement, that is how. And at this point in your career, as students, a thesis statement that is not present is surely going to doom the draft. It is a hard truth, but it is the truth. Because without an organizational idea and an essential assertion, the writing itself has no mooring. It is purposeless. And writing without purpose simply cannot pass. Certainly for reader-based writing, which is the writing we are engaged in. So the presence of a thesis. Clear, logical organization. Do the paragraphs make sense in the order that they are presented? Is there an idea being developed through these paragraphs that is able to be followed by the audience? Is that organization tethered to a thesis? Through transitions and strong topic sentences. Three, development. Are those logically organized, well transitioned and topic sentenced paragraphs that are tied to a thesis supporting that thesis? Explaining the support of that thesis. Four, is that thesis which is being validated, proven through logically arranged, well-transitioned, topic sentenced, developed paragraphs that support the thesis? Is that support being transparently documented in terms of in-text citations and the presence of a works cited page? Those four areas are what academic writing is. In any of those four areas that might be lacking seriously compromise the success of the paper. As peer reviewers, then, we have a responsibility to make sure that those areas are addressed first. Because if meaning cannot be made from the paper, it doesn't matter whether it is free of grammatical error or problems of spelling. It just won't matter. I have, in my 13 years, had to give students a non-passing grade for a paper that was grammatically immaculate. Because while the sentence level stuff were taken care of and the formatting was beautiful, there was no idea. They were sentences on pages without purpose. And while we're here, let's talk about those what the Purdue OWL calls lower order concerns, or what I like to think of as modally readability. These are areas that can only and should only be addressed after the meaning making or the higher order concerns have been taken care of. These include spelling, punctuation, grammar, such as subject-verb agreement or tense shifts. And finally, MLA, format, not research, though research is certainly a part of it. But what I mean by format is font, line spacing, margins. Those are lower order concerns. They are the area where the overlap between proofreading and peer review takes place. But by only addressing the lower order concerns, we are not really helping anyone, except to maybe make less comma splices. So our responsibility is always to make sure that the paper and the writer we're working with, or writers that we're working with, are creating maximally impactful, thoughtful, logical, clear, and purposeful drafts. That is what peer review is. This semester, you are required to engage in 10 peer review sessions, 5 in which you are the reviewer, 5 in which you are the reviewed. Somebody reads your stuff, you read somebody else's stuff. There is a peer review template, which is a kind of form for you to record the peer review sessions. You will record all 10 on this form. You will submit that with your final drafts at the end of the term. I just realized I think I got my 5s mixed up. You will submit that at the end of the term. And if you do 10, you will get full credit. But this brings us to another issue. And that is, peer review is ideally done in person. In fact, the way we think about peer review in terms of a paradigm of peer review is designed for face-to-face interaction. But we're not sitting in a classroom, clearly. Though I would probably be wearing this t-shirt if we were, because it's a good t-shirt. And we're not sitting in a classroom. So the opportunity to do peer review for many of you is something that's not going to be either consistently feasible or feasible at all. Otherwise, you would be in a classroom taking advanced college writing. So this is why I have created the community page primarily for that, though the conversations from the What's New posts are pretty great. But initially, I created it for that purpose, as a central place where my students, my classes, could meet and do peer review. The great thing about the Google Plus community page and the associated Google apps are that, unlike emailing drafts back and forth, which is a little like a correspondence course, if you remember what those, any of you know what that is, they used to do distance learning like this through the mail. Yeah, right. And fairly lonely, alienating work. Not the best environment in any sense for academic writing and learning how to do composition in that context. So the great thing about these apps associated with the Google Plus page is that they actually can facilitate a real-time exchange between peer reviewer and peer reviewed. So you could have multiple people from this section, from both sections of composition that are online this term, multiple people working on your draft at the same time. So while we're not exactly sitting around a table having a conversation, we can approximate that as close as possible using these apps. And so this is why I asked that rough drafts get uploaded to the community page, so that they are there and they are accessible for anyone, and peer review can begin in earnest nearly immediately. And so what I want to kind of finish up on today is a demonstration walking you through the steps of how to share to the community page. And so I'm going to walk you through this procedure. As I share the screen. So simply type in google.com. You will be prompted in this corner to sign in. So go ahead and sign in using the same account that you use for your profile for the community page. And if you go over to these 9 squares here, you will see the apps. Drop those down and go to More in Open Docs. Now you will discover throughout the semester that there's a lot of ways to go about doing this. The way I'm showing you is the most straightforward way, particularly for people that feel like they're not that tech savvy. But as long as it is up on the community page and people can open them, read them, and comment on them, I have no problem with however you get it there. So I always start with a blank document. Go under File, click Open. And then go to Upload. Now you can drag and drop, as you can see, but I will go ahead and select a file from my local computer, which I have saved to the desktop. Click Open. And you will see I just uploaded a Microsoft Word document which is the format .doc, .docx, or .rtf. And it just says annotated bibliography. So I will then go under share to change the permissions and to actually put it on the community page. As you can see, it says private only to me. So we need to change that. Click share and then go to advanced. Change who has access to anyone with the link. Change that to anyone can comment. Click save. Go to the Google Plus icon. You will see a thumbnail here. You can add a comment here. Get rid of the public and go find the community. Now that we've found NKU 291 Advanced College Writing, we can then go and find the appropriate heading. So I called this the annotated bibliography. We will put this under annotated bibliography. Click share. And we are done. We can then, I can type, go to the community page, and here we are. Oh, that's far out. So anyway, we will ponder infinity, and I will leave you with this sort of infinite broadcast. Have a great week. Bye.